Well, I think the civil rights movement, you have like the court cases that you have legislation, but you have court cases before, like, oh shoot, I can't remember, but well, anyway, you know, where they integrated the schools, forcibly integrated the schools, and here you have Kennedy, you know, calling out the National Guard to integrate the schools. In other words, equal rights isn't just a bunch of words. Now it's actually being put into action. I mean, my parents were put during World War II in a detention camp, you know, a concentration camp or a relocation camp. But basically, even though they were American citizens, they lost the rights of citizens. They could not live where they wanted to. They were forced to move away from the coast. They lost everything that they had. And that's racism. And it's not, they weren't, their civil rights weren't protected. And then during the civil rights movement, all of that started to change for minorities, especially for African Americans, because they were heavily oppressed. I mean, there was, in my lifetime, there was Jim Crow, there was segregation, and, you know, where, you know, you couldn't ride in the same, you had to ride in the back of the bus, or you couldn't drink out of the same water fountain, you couldn't use the same bathrooms, you had to go to a different school. I lived in California, so there was none of that, but we knew it existed, and that makes you feel like, well, you're second class, you know, you'll never be quite there. But during the civil rights movement, you saw that the government, there was a will amongst the people of the United States and the government of the United States to change that, to get rid of it. And so, and it has changed. I mean, there's institutional racism, what segregation is, and then you have personal racism, which is harder to get rid of, but I even seen that go away. That was something that I never thought would go away, but because all the advances made during the civil rights movement, I think people's attitudes have changed now, where out-and-out racism that existed when I was young, it's just, I don't see it very much anymore. I mean, there's every once in a while you see the KKK, or there's the Aryan Brotherhood or whatever, but it's not like before where it was just the guy next door, you know, was like that. And so, so it's been a positive effect. I mean, I feel that the law is on my side now as a non-white American. Whereas before I wouldn't have felt that necessarily, you know, and I don't think that my parents felt that way ever, because of the times they grew up in. But I do feel that way, and I do feel the other thing too is that racism has become unfashionable. Before it was just like accepted. Now if you're a racist, it's not acceptable, and I think a lot of that had to do with all of the work that the civil rights people did to change the situation in the country. All the protesting and activism pushed the government to have to act to make the law of the land apply equally. So it was a good thing.